We've all been there, right? Staring at a paper, totally obsessing over whether a comma goes here or a period goes there. It can feel like such a chore. But what if mastering citations was about way more than just avoiding red ink? Today, we're going to flip the script on that frustrating task and show you how it's actually your secret weapon for building real academic credibility. And let's just dive right in with this quote from Jake Lawson, because it really cuts to the chase. This isn't just about picky formatting. Getting citations wrong has actual consequences. And as he says, they can quietly wreck all the hard work you've put into a great paper. The stakes are pretty high. So just how big of a problem is this? I mean, it's so easy to dismiss a citation error as just a minor typo, right? But the reality is, these little mistakes are a huge, widespread issue that can seriously undermine the quality and the trustworthiness of even the most amazing research. Okay, get a load of this number. Some studies have found citation error rates as high as 54% in certain academic fields. That's insane. That's more than 1 out of every 2 citations having some kind of mistake. It just goes to show you this isn't just a student problem. It's a huge challenge across all of academic writing. But here's a thought. What if we've been looking at citations completely wrong this whole time? What if they're not about avoiding punishment at all? There's a much more powerful way to think about them. They're basically your ticket to join this massive, ongoing conversation that scholars have been having for centuries. Every single time you cite a source correctly, you're doing so much more than just following a rule. You're showing that you've done your homework. You're showing respect for the work that came before you. And you're thoughtfully adding your own voice to that dialogue. It makes your argument stronger and establishes you as someone to be taken seriously. Okay, so now that we've got the why down, let's talk about the how. How do we get it right? Now, you could look up a list of the 10 most common errors, and honestly, it's pretty overwhelming. But the good news is we can simplify all of them. They really just fall into 2 main categories, or traps, that we need to look out for. And here they are: conceptual traps and formatting traps. Think of it like this. Conceptual traps are the big picture mistakes about why we cite. That's the thinking part. Formatting traps, on the other hand, are all those nitty-gritty, detail-oriented mistakes in how we cite. That's the doing part. Now, one of the biggest conceptual traps out there is something called patch writing. This is super common. It's when you take someone else's sentence, you swap out a few words with a thesaurus, and you basically call it a day. The thing is, even if you don't mean to, it's a form of plagiarism because you're stealing the author's unique sentence structure, their way of thinking, without giving proper credit. So, how do we avoid falling into that trap? It's a simple but really powerful 3-step process. First, read the original until you actually get what it's saying. Second, and this is the absolute key, put the source away. Close the book, minimize the tab. Take notes based only on what's in your head. And third, write your paraphrase using only your notes. This forces you to process the idea and express it in your own authentic voice. Now, for that second category, formatting traps. You know, these are the little detail mistakes that can make a really smart paper just look careless. We're talking about stuff like an in-text citation that doesn't actually exist in your reference list, or misusing et al., or forgetting a crucial DOI link, or maybe citing a journal article like it's just a regular website. By themselves, they might seem small, but believe me, they add up, and they can really hurt your credibility. And the key to avoiding all those little formatting headaches is understanding your style guide. MLA, APA, Chicago, they aren't just random sets of rules designed to make your life harder. Each one is built to highlight what's most important in its specific field. And once you get that logic, everything gets a whole lot easier. So let's break down the big 3 real quick. In the humanities, MLA is all about the author and the page number, which makes sense when you're analyzing a specific line from a novel. APA, which you see in social sciences, puts the year of publication right at the front because it's all about how new the research is. And then you've got Chicago, which is big in history, using those detailed footnotes to create this perfect, traceable breadcrumb trail back to every single source. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, citation generators. We all use them. They can be a massive time saver, but it is so important to remember that they are your assistants, they are not the expert, and just like any assistant, they can, and they absolutely do, make mistakes. And this data really shows that not all of these tools are created equal. You have a really powerful tool like Zotero that scores incredibly high on accuracy, but then a super common one like EasyBib has a noticeably lower rating. The big takeaway here is that the quality really varies, and you can't just blindly trust whatever it spits out.
So here's the number one rule. Be the boss of the bot. Yes, use these tools to do the heavy lifting and save you time, but then you have to perform what's called a reverse verification. That just means you take what the generator gave you and you check it against an official style guide. In the end, you are the final authority, and it's on you to catch the machine's errors.
When it comes right down to it, mastering citations is about so much more than just avoiding mistakes. It's about confidently and credibly taking your place in that great academic conversation. When you start to see your paper not just as another assignment, but as your contribution to a huge ongoing dialogue, citing your sources becomes the very thing that gives your voice power. So the only question left is, what are you going to add to the conversation?